from New York, I bring you my best movies of 2015. Welcome, my English public. I know you have about 2,000 people on my mailing list and most of it is Dutch, but I did about 75 English movies this year, so there's a lot of it. Let me give you a small introduction.
Hi, we're here at Ericsson Country, which is a huge hall with thousands and thousands of people and hundreds of things they show. And it's an interesting place because it gives an insight of what the broadcast industry is going to.
I was in Barcelona at Mobile World Congress and I did 20 videos about the latest innovations in the mobile world. It's the Internet of Things, it's the latest smartphones, the latest smartwatches, but also what happens with automobile industry, how the connected car is going to change everything, how the next generation internet is changing everything to make everything remote control operated. Very interesting. In the Netherlands, we have the Stevejobsschool, where kids basically learn at their own pace, at their own speed, with their own passion. And people from all over the world, like this Minister of Education from Austria, comes talk to us.
Very convincing, and you see how silent and motivated the children are.
Well, they're now having lunch.
And I asked Elon Musk, an open letter to Elon Musk, give me a warranty. I'm out of my 100,000 miles. I need warranty for your computer. Everybody can do that. Your car can do it too.
I love my Tesla so much. 80,000 kilometers with it. And now you know my warranty is over. And of course...
9/11 is of course very high on the list, and I interviewed Richard Gage. He is an architect and he basically has been working for 10 years to say it's different. The reason why these buildings went down is different, and he came to Holland and I interviewed him.
There were no architects and engineers for 9/11. These are buildings.
Yeah, but listen, you're mining...
Lots of stuff with fintech, Bitcoin conference, blockchain, and in Europe we have the so-called PSD2, and that means in 2070 all the banks need to open up their information for all the other products. You do not need a user interface from a bank anymore. Any product can do it.
It's a regulation, and you're absolutely right. So the nirvana of an aggregated scenario for you is about to become a reality because of this regulation.
Okay,
One of the highlights was for me Charles Genske, the founder of Adobe, and I talked to him for a long time, and he talked about how the internet started, how he basically was part of a program which was started by Kennedy and Eisenhower, and how it started lots of companies. And he talks in depth also about how Adobe got founded and how he refused Steve Jobs as a first client.
People who could take this discipline and build on it. But he said they're also going to have to do research so that if Congress ever calls me to task.
I got Jacqueline Wedge to internet. Jackie McNish is the writer of Losing the Signal, the book about BlackBerry, and it's such an interesting story about Silicon Valley, Canada, and the whole mobile industry. Fantastic interview.
Encrypted and secure, and that made businesses their core client. People were in this space. You remember Apple had the Newton, and the software was flawed, it didn't work. Palm was the object that everyone loved, but it had no email. And so what BlackBerry did was that they brought us one piece of the internet, and that was email. And they did it in a way that it wouldn't overload the bandwidth, it wouldn't overload the carriers' networks, because they used compression, they used packet switch.
At IBC, the broadcast show in Amsterdam, I had a lot of interviews and I showed, for example, these kinds of gadgets, the all-in-one recorder, monoble play jack, the Assassin.
Professional features that don't exist in the camera, we add them onto the camera. So the cameras are great with lenses and sensors, but then they really compress the files down internally. And
in Groningen, the biggest Google data center is built. It's huge. And Thomas Roermond is the manager of the data center, and he basically explains how it was built.
Wind park in Delfzijl, 19 turbines, 62 megawatts. So we're investing in that wind park because we wanted to have green energy from day one supplied to our data center. What's the total?
One of my greatest places I went to was Estonia. Estonia, a little country, 1.4 million people, and they have the best digital government ever. They spend 10 times less than the United States or Holland per person, and they have 100 times more services. Why is that? 20 videos about how they're working with it, what kind of digital service they are, how foreigners can get it, and how Estonia is basically ruling that part of the world. In the Netherlands, there's something that's called the Things Network, and it's like a LoRa network, an Internet of Things network, which is free, and it's now started as an open source, and it's now in 40 different cities. And Winke is the initiator, and he talks about it.
It's in an indicator, for example, for a parking place, and for 5 years,
$1,000.
yeah, that's for the network. All the
Can connect to these things. It can be sensors, it can be switches, it can be locks, it can be whatever you can imagine.
mega factory. YouTube,
I went to the
movie,
Tesla
you see them
factory
working.
in Fremont, and we talked about our experiences.
For 4 million and moved them over with 23 trains. They moved it from Detroit to here.
Just for one press.
That was one for just.
I interviewed Vint Cerf. He is the founder of the internet, started TCP/IP, is now evangelist at Google, and he talked about what he's busy with now, the people-centered internet.
I'm not the only one. But what we're talking about here is specifically healthcare and paying attention to individuals and people sharing enough information that they can take advantage of what other people.
And in the Netherlands, there's a new solar factory. It's called Solaris, with an 80% efficiency rate. They do heat and they do electricity.
Product. What do we see here?
This is the receiver. This is the core technology of our power collector. And these are normal solar cells we're using, but we're using them in 4 different
80% efficiency, especially in third world countries, very interesting. The Web Summit is a very interesting European conference in Ireland. 35,000 people look at the latest things. 2,000 startups. And this is one of them, Carl Martin. He founded $15 million, and he basically takes professional doctors and patients together.
I'm touching it, it senses that it's still on my wrist. So it's in this state of trust.
It's like the Apple Watch. It basically, when you take it off, you have to do it again.
Exactly. And so once it's in this state of trust, then it becomes sort of...
And the number one startup of Web Summit was a Dutch one. It's called Connectera, and it's a Dutch startup from Amsterdam, but the founder is Pakistani, the other one is Spanish or Colombian, and but it's Fitbit for cows, very fitting for the Netherlands.
Year, but we've really been at it since about 9 months now.
Yeah. How difficult was this whole startup circus?
It's tough.
En dan met Rutger van Zuidam, I do the blockchain conference with him, the bitcoincongress.nl. And he basically has a fantastic startup, and he turns every banner into a web shop.
The contacts.
Yeah, the retailer. You need to integrate with the retailer, so you have a whole bunch of standard retailers you connect to.
Yes, we tried it first for the Netherlands, so we connected with Wacomp and Bol.com and several Magento players, etc. Now.
And I ended this year with the big Apple circus, the story behind the Apple circus. How do you start a circus? It's in New York, it's been there for 35 years. How do they build it? And I interviewed the creative director.
How many permanent people are in this circus?
We have roughly 50 permanent employees. And like now, when we're on tour, we are 110 people on location. Set to the costume, the music, the scenery, and the entire cast, except for the ringmaster and the animal trainer. They stay from year to year and do something different every year. But everybody else...
I'm sorry, there's 75 interviews. There's really something for you. There's really interesting. Look at the title, see what inspires you, and I hope you have a fantastic end of 2015. And we'll see you in 2016 again. I will make every week an English item on my news list. Bye, and see you in 2016.